I was accused of murdering my own son. But I swear, that morning, I personally took him to school, watched him walk into his classroom, and waved goodbye to me before the door closed. So why did the security cameras say I was never there? And why was my son's body found at the foot of the building, with clear evidence that I was the one who killed him? You are listening to a story on the Romantic Twist Reviews channel. Please like and subscribe to the channel to hear more great stories every day. Honey, my mom isn't feeling well, I'm taking her to the hospital for a checkup. Could you please take Leo to school today? Sarah supported her mother, speaking gently to me. Those familiar words jolted me awake. I turned to look at Sarah and suddenly realized I had been reborn. In my previous life, it was after agreeing to Sarah's request that I took our son to kindergarten alone. As a result, a series of strange events occurred. Ultimately, my son drowned inexplicably. I was framed as the murderer and beaten to death. Seeing my silence, Sarah stepped closer, asking worriedly, "What's wrong, Ethan? Don't you have time?" Her voice was gentle, as if afraid of troubling me. Looking at her kind appearance, my heart sank. In my past life, I was busy with work, and she and Sarah's mom had always handled picking up and dropping off our child. But why did such a serious incident happen the one time they asked me to take him? Was it just a coincidence? I hesitated for a moment, then looked seriously at Sarah. "I think Leo doesn't look too well today, or maybe let's not send him to school today." Sarah glanced at our son with concern, then nodded. "Okay, I'll listen to you. Then remember to inform his homeroom teacher and ask for a day off." Sarah's mom also smiled and added, "Thanks for taking care of Leo today." Their attitudes and reactions were incredibly natural. So natural that no flaws could be seen. But because of that, I found it even more puzzling. After Sarah left with her mother, I looked towards my son. He was obediently sitting at the table eating breakfast. My eyes turned red. I couldn't help but recall the tragic scene of him drowning in my previous life. He was so small, how scared must he have been when facing death? I tried to suppress my bitterness, sat down next to him, and gently asked, "Leo, how have Mom and Grandma been treating you lately?" The boy beamed. "Mom and Grandma are very good to me." I hesitated for a moment then continued, "What about your homeroom teacher, is she nice?" "The teacher is very nice, she often takes care of me at school too." His answer was definitive, his innocent face filled with joy. After speaking, he opened his sparkling eyes wide and asked innocently, "Dad, I don't feel sick today, why am I not going to school?" I caressed his tender face, gently replying, "Because Dad can't bear to be apart from you." In my previous life, it was because I took him to school that he died a tragic, unexplained death. This life, I will definitely not let that happen again. After my son finished breakfast, he sat in the living room watching TV. I took the dishes to the kitchen to clean up. In the middle of it, his homeroom teacher called me, "Leo's father, why hasn't he come to school yet today? Is he sick?" Hearing the exact same question as in my previous life, my heart immediately tensed. As I walked out of the kitchen towards the living room, I politely replied on the phone, "I'm sorry, Miss Peterson, Leo is a little unwell today." I was about to call and ask for a day off for him. Before I could finish, my voice suddenly choked. Because the boy who was sitting on the sofa watching TV had suddenly disappeared. Fear overwhelmed me, engulfing me in an instant. I immediately hung up the phone and frantically searched the house for him. But no matter how I called or how thoroughly I searched, the entire house remained empty. No one answered. I panicked. Memories of my past life flooded back like a nightmare, making my legs go weak and my vision darken. With trembling hands, I frantically called the police. In the end, the police, just like in my previous life, found my son's body in the lake near our house. I rushed to the lake like a madman, unable to believe my eyes as they pulled his body from the water. The child who had just been so lively, who had just smiled brightly at me. Now he had become a cold and pale corpse. I felt like I had fallen into an abyss, unable to breathe. My limbs were weak as I rushed forward, stumbling several times before I could hold him in my arms. While using my body heat to warm his icy body, I choked out his name. But no matter what I did, no matter how many times I called, Leo never opened his eyes to look at me even once. When I realized he had left me once again, my heart ached to the extreme. Why? Why had I changed my actions from my previous life, trying to keep him by my side? And still couldn't change the outcome? Why, no matter what I did, could I not save my son? The overwhelming pain came like a ferocious wave, leaving me too exhausted to even cry. Sarah's mom and Sarah rushed over as soon as they heard the news. Seeing my son lying motionless in my arms, Sarah's mom immediately wailed, a heart-wrenching cry. Right after, she lunged forward, pushed me away, and clutched her grandson's body tightly. Leo, my dear grandson, Grandma only went to the hospital for a little while, how could you be gone? Sarah was also in tears, her whole body trembling as she spoke. Leo, wake up, don't scare Mom. Are you angry that Mom didn't take you to school today? Wake up, Mom's sorry, I'll do anything you want, just open your eyes. As Sarah spoke, full of regret, she slapped herself hard across the face. The onlookers who witnessed the scene couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Sigh, everyone in this neighborhood knows this child was well-behaved and sensible, polite to everyone he met, everyone loved him. That's right, I remember everyone in their family doted on him. Now that he's gone, how will this family live on? What a pity, such a good child, how could he suddenly drown in the lake? Amidst the buzzing discussions, a police officer in charge of investigating the case approached me, holding a video recording. We just checked the surveillance cameras around here and found that you brought the victim to the lake and drowned the child with your own hands. Do you have anything to explain about this? As he spoke, he played the surveillance video in front of everyone. In the recording, it was clearly me leading my son to the lake shore, then pulling him into the water, holding him down until he stopped struggling, before I let go. As soon as the video ended, all eyes turned to me. Shocked, furious, hateful. Looking at that video, something I had never done. And those eyes that looked like they wanted to tear me into 100 pieces. I felt like I had returned to my previous life once more. Despair and helplessness enveloped me again. Before I could open my mouth, Sarah angrily stepped forward, slapped me hard across the face, and then furiously screamed, Ethan Miller, are you even human? Leo is your own son. He was only 5 years old, how could you be so cruel? Sarah was extremely enraged. That slap, she had put all her strength into it. Her eyes, blazing red like fire, stared at me, as if wanting to dice me into 100 pieces. That scene, I had experienced it before. My heart felt like it was being cut by a knife, the pain was unbearable. In my previous life, she was also like this, she didn't listen to my explanation, a slap like a death sentence, shattering all my hopes. Sarah's mom also held my son tightly, her eyes full of hatred, her voice choked with pain. What did Leo do to anger you? Why did you kill him? The more she spoke, the more agitated she became, clutching her chest as if she couldn't breathe. The surrounding crowd was equally furious, pointing and cursing at me. This man is worse than an animal, he could even harm his own son. I saw him crying so hard earlier, I thought he was a good father, who knew he was just a murderer putting on an act. Too disgusting. A person like that doesn't deserve to be a father, much less live in this world. While cursing, they spat on me and threw trash at me. Someone even took out their phone to record a video, live streaming to expose my crime. The live stream views skyrocketed. Every comment was mourning Leo's death, cursing me as a beast, and wishing me a horrible death. Seeing the situation starting to get out of control, the police immediately stepped forward to maintain order, and at the same time, sternly said to me, the current incident has become serious, its nature is extremely heinous. The evidence is clear. Do you have anything else to say? I didn't hesitate, firmly replying, I didn't kill him. I would never harm my own son. Please, officers, please investigate this case thoroughly. Otherwise, my son's killer will forever roam free. I'm not afraid of death. But I cannot accept my son dying without a clear reason. Hearing this, the police officer frowned, his gaze towards me growing colder, as if looking at an incorrigible criminal. We checked from the very beginning. The video recording shows absolutely no signs of tampering. If it wasn't you, then who else could it be? That's right. Who on earth killed my son, and then framed me for it? That question had tormented me for 2 lifetimes. I still couldn't understand it even at the point of death. Seeing me speechless, the crowd jeered and cursed again. Why aren't you arguing anymore? Do you dare not speak because you know you're the killer? Killing your own son and then crying injustice here, aren't you disgusted? It's truly pitiful for the boy, so well-behaved and sensible, to be born into a family with such a cold-blooded father. His mother and grandmother are also really unlucky to encounter such scum. As the insults escalated, the lead police officer ordered, "Take him to the station." Immediately, someone came forward to handcuff me and escort me to the police car. In my previous life, it was the same, unable to refute, thrown into prison, tortured to death. My parents were also doxxed and vilified by netizens. Just leaving the house meant being pelted with feces, cursed at, and having funeral wreaths placed at their door. In the end, they died tragically in their home, their bodies decomposing, with no one to care for their funeral arrangements. Could it be that in this life, I still can't escape that tragic fate? Could it be that my son died unjustly, and the real killer will never be exposed? My heart was in turmoil, my mind a mess. I truly couldn't understand. What exactly was the problem? Why in my previous life, when I personally took my son to school, did everyone say they didn't see us? Why in this life, when I kept my son at home, did he suddenly disappear and then die by the lake near our house? Why, when I did nothing, did the camera have evidence incriminating me? What was the reason for all of this? Who murdered my son? And then pinned all the blame on me? A series of questions swirled in my head, making me more and more confused. I knew clearly that something was extremely unusual. But I couldn't pinpoint what exactly was wrong. I could only try to recall every detail from my 2 lives, hoping to grasp a clue to resolve this injustice. Just as I was about to be pushed into the police car, my eyes suddenly lit up, as if a flash of lightning had struck my brain. I immediately turned my head and screamed frantically, "I know who the killer is." My sudden shout caused Captain Davis, the person in charge of the scene, to immediately change his expression. He looked at me, his voice cautious. "Who?" I answered seriously, "It's my parents." As soon as the words left my mouth, the entire surrounding crowd stared at each other in stunned silence. Disbelief and doubt were clearly written on everyone's faces. Captain Davis immediately frowned, his eyes wary. "This is no small accusation. Do you have any proof?" I didn't say much, just stated grimly, "Just bring my parents here, and everything will be clear." Seeing my serious expression and confident tone, Captain Davis pondered for a moment and finally called to have my parents brought over. During the wait, the crowd grew larger. Even my son's homeroom teacher, Miss Peterson, rushed to the scene. The live stream views continued to soar, with countless netizens anxiously watching and discussing animatedly. Amidst the anticipation of both the crowd and thousands watching live, my parents were brought to the scene by several police officers. As soon as they arrived, their eyes immediately fell on the pale corpse of their grandson. My mother clutched her chest, choking back sobs. After a moment, she looked at me, choked up, and asked, "Ethan, what on earth happened, son?" My father also wiped his tears while shaking his head in confusion. "That's right, Leo was so healthy, how could something like this happen?" Looking at them, 2 gray-haired individuals painfully mourning their grandson, my heart clenched. My tears also fell uncontrollably. I tried to swallow the sorrow in my heart and said, choked up, "Dad, Mom. I won't let Leo die in vain. But you two also have to take care of your health. In my previous life, the whole world cursed me as an animal, a heartless child killer. Even in prison, I was treated as a demon, beaten to death. Only my parents always believed in me, defended me. But their explanations were twisted into covering up for a criminal. Netizens vented all their anger on them, pushing them to a dead end, dying tragically in their own home, their bodies decomposing, no one caring for their funeral. Therefore, this life, I immediately called my parents here. I didn't want them to repeat that tragic fate. Seeing that scene, Captain Davis's expression suddenly darkened. "Are you kidding me? You called your parents here just to say these few sentences?" I looked at him and replied helplessly, "There's no other way. Things have gotten this complicated. This is the only way I can protect my parents." Captain Davis looked at me deeply, his voice less harsh. "Then what about you saying you know who the killer is? Was that also just a trick?" I immediately shook my head and said seriously, "No. I really know who the killer is. But before that, I need to confirm something." As I spoke, I took out my phone and opened the map. Based on my memories from my previous life, I found a location and showed it to Captain Davis. "Could you please go to this place and take a video or some photos for me?" Captain Davis's face darkened, and he frowned. "What are you playing at?" I didn't answer directly, only said sternly, if you really want to know who the killer is, then do as I say. Only then can the truth be revealed. Captain Davis stared at me as if trying to see through me. Seeing my sincere and resolute expression, he finally nodded and sent someone to the location I indicated to take some videos and photos. When the images were sent back, my pupils contracted sharply. It's just as I thought. Seeing my confident and assured expression, Captain Davis couldn't help but urge, "We've done exactly as you asked. Now you should tell me, who is the real killer you're talking about?" The surrounding crowd also began to lose patience. That's right. His own son is dead, and he's still acting mysterious. What's with all the beating around the bush? I think he's the killer. Now that he knows he can't escape, he's just trying to stall for time. The camera footage is crystal clear. Still want to deny it? He must be afraid of dying, so he's resorting to tricks, like calling his parents over and luring the police to take pictures, just to buy a little more time to live. A person like him existing only pollutes the air. It's best to just execute him already. On the live stream, netizens were equally furious, calling for the police to deal with me on the spot, without wasting any more time. Seeing the crowd starting to lose control, Captain Davis spoke sternly again. "You're still not talking? Who exactly is this person you call the killer?" I didn't answer directly, but slowly walked towards the crowd, heading for the homeroom teacher. Seeing me approach, Miss Peterson flinched slightly, a flicker of doubt in her eyes. Everyone around me looked at me blankly. Under everyone's intense gaze, I looked directly at her coldly and asked, "Miss Peterson, don't you have to teach today? Why are you here too?" The homeroom teacher looked up, seemed dazed for 2 seconds, then quickly replied, "Leo is a good student, I'm very fond of him. I saw on the live stream that he was in trouble. I was heartbroken, so I asked for leave to come and see the situation." "Leo's father, is there a problem?" Her expression was innocent, even identical to how it was in my previous life, when she insisted she had never met me and my son at the school. I didn't answer, just took out my phone and showed the photos the police had just taken to her. "This is the land being developed near your kindergarten. I wonder if Miss Peterson finds it familiar." Seeing the photo, a flash of tension appeared in her eyes, but it quickly returned to a calm expression. "I only go from home to school and back. I've never paid attention to this place." "Leo's father, why are you asking about this?" Looking at her innocent face, I said coldly, "Don't you think this place looks a lot like the kindergarten gate? If I'm not mistaken, even if I had taken my son to school today, he would still have disappeared mysteriously. Right?" My question was direct and sharp, causing her to falter momentarily. It took a few seconds before she frowned and retorted, "Leo's father, what are you talking about? In broad daylight, how could a child suddenly disappear? Moreover, there are surveillance cameras all around the school. If something really happened, we could extract the video for investigation." Her words sounded reasonable, polite, and even flawless. But to me, every word was a loophole. In my previous life, it was at this very construction site that I handed my son over to the teacher. Because I rarely picked up or dropped off my son, I wasn't familiar with the area. Seeing that the location seemed correct and the homeroom teacher was already waiting there. You are listening to a story on the Romantic Twist Reviews channel. Please like and subscribe to the channel to hear more great stories every day. There were even a few students, parents, and a security guard standing around. I immediately thought this was the kindergarten. But in reality, everyone there, from students, parents, to the security guard, they were all actors she had paid and hired. The me of my previous life basically didn't take my son to the real school. So when the police checked the real school's cameras, of course, they didn't see me or my son. That's also why all the staff, parents, and security guards at the school insisted they had never seen me appear. Remembering those days in my previous life, being framed, unable to defend myself, searching for my son in despair. That suffocating feeling in my throat, I would never forget it in my entire life. I sighed, then said in a low voice, "To be honest, I used to think something like that was impossible too. But you people, you actually did it." I thought, as long as I kept my son at home, everything would be safe. But I never expected you could still make him disappear. I used to wonder, how on earth did you do it? Now, I understand everything. After I finished speaking, the expressions of the crowd immediately changed. People whispered among themselves, "What does he mean? Could his son's death be related to the homeroom teacher? It seems like it, but I find it hard to believe." That's right, the camera clearly recorded him drowning his own son. Now instead of repenting, he's trying to frame the teacher? Truly an irredeemable animal. Seeing that everyone was leaning towards her side, the homeroom teacher, Miss Peterson, raised her head, her voice full of confidence. Leo's father, I understand your pain of losing a child, but that cannot be a reason for you to slander me without basis. Leo's disappearance and death have nothing to do with me. At the time of the incident, I was still at school. Both teachers and students there can testify. Faced with that confident rebuttal, I nodded slightly, my voice calm. I know. It's true that you were at school at that time. Because I suddenly kept my son at home this morning, it disrupted your plans. Therefore, this time, the person who acted was not you. Speaking up to this point, I looked towards my son's body, my heart aching, tears streaming down. I've always wondered, my son was clearly at home with me. How could he disappear without a trace while I was just in the kitchen washing dishes? Who could silently enter the house, and then take him away so quietly? I looked at Sarah's mom and Sarah, my voice dropping. Only you two. Hearing me name them, both of them were stunned. Sarah's eyes widened, and she shouted angrily, Ethan, are you crazy? I took my mother to the doctor. How could I have come back home to take our son? Leo is my own flesh and blood, carried for 10 months, why would I harm him? Sarah's mom also beat her chest and stamped her feet, angrily scolding, you killed my precious grandson, and now you want to frame me and my daughter? How can your heart be so malicious? I looked straight at them, my voice deep and clear with every word. Leo is very well behaved. He doesn't accept things from strangers. He doesn't easily talk to strangers. And he would never open the door for strangers or go with them. He only trusts unconditionally those closest to him. You know that, don't you? I asked him this morning how you two treat him. He smiled very innocently and said that you treat him very well. He trusted you two to the core. Even if you two quietly took him away, he would obediently not say a word. I wiped my tears, choking out, such an innocent child, how could he have imagined? The ones who harmed him were the two people he trusted most in his life. Hearing this, Sarah and her mother glanced at each other, disbelief evident in both their eyes. The next second, Sarah screamed in fury, Ethan, don't talk nonsense. Leo was raised by me and my mother, what reason would we have to harm him? Not to mention, the police have a video of you killing your son with your own hands. In terms of suspicion, who is more suspicious than you? Sarah was clearly enraged. Her eyes, full of fiery anger, looked at me as if wanting to burn me to ashes. I looked at her, my eyes heavy with disappointment, my voice quiet, yes. That video is real. Hearing that, Sarah glared coldly, her voice low, then what else do you have to defend yourself with? I sighed softly and said slowly, first, let me tell everyone a story. My mother suffered from postpartum hemorrhage due to a difficult birth when I was born. The doctor issued critical condition notices one after another. My father knelt outside the delivery room, praying to God countless times. My mother used all her strength to give birth to me. But at that time, in my mother's womb, there was another baby. It was my twin brother. Because my mother had a hemorrhage, she was completely exhausted after giving birth to me. The doctor said that a situation where both mother and child could die could happen at any moment. At that time, the doctor asked my father, save the mother or the child? My father said without hesitation, save the mother. But my mother just shook her head, tears streaming down her face as she clutched the doctor's hand, begging him to try to save the remaining child in her womb. Caught in a difficult situation, the doctor could only do his best. Fortunately, in the end, both my mother and my younger brother survived. But because my brother stayed in our mother's womb for too long and suffered severe oxygen deprivation, he had many congenital diseases from a young age and his health was significantly weaker. Therefore, ever since I was little, my parents always gave him special attention. Hearing me tell this, the scene buzzed with doubtful murmurs. Does he mean he wants to drag his younger brother out to take the blame for him? He's really desperate to escape punishment, even making up a story about having a twin brother. Does he think we're stupid? But amidst the countless skeptical voices, someone couldn't help but speak up. I used to be their neighbor. He really does have a twin brother. But I remember, his brother failed the college entrance exam and then jumped into a river to commit suicide. Reminded of that pain, my mother looked at me with teary eyes, confused. Ethan, your brother died a long time ago, why are you suddenly bringing him up? I was calm but my eyes were dark and I said sternly, before, I also always thought my younger brother was dead. But today, I finally know, we were all wrong. The person in the video really looks like me. Even the first time I watched it, I thought it was me. But just now, after watching it carefully many times, I discovered a detail: the person in the video has a habit of rubbing their ear. But since I was little, my ear was injured, so I never had the habit of touching my ear. On the contrary, my younger brother, he always had the habit of rubbing his ear. If the video isn't fake, then the person in it is really my younger brother. Saying this, I walked towards a man in the crowd, wearing a baseball cap and a mask. Standing in front of him, I spoke with anguish, "It's you, isn't it, Evan?" That man slowly removed his mask, revealing a face almost identical to mine. Amidst the stunned gazes of everyone, he clapped his hands and exclaimed, "You really are brilliant. Your logical analysis is as sharp as ever. Truly worthy of being the top scorer in the college entrance exam that year." Seeing her younger son standing before her, my mother's eyes widened in disbelief. My father was also so shaken that his hands trembled, his eyes filled with complex emotions. That's right. How could it not be complicated? The son they thought was dead was suddenly alive and standing right in front of them. But he bore the identity of a murderer. And that murderer had killed his own nephew. A bitter tragedy. I looked at my younger brother, my heart clenching, my voice choked. "Do you know? Actually, I suspected you from the beginning. But I didn't dare to believe it. We grew up together since we were little, as close as shadow and form. I always told myself, my younger brother could never do something like kill my son. I even suspected Sarah and Sarah's mom, tried to probe them, but I absolutely didn't want to suspect you. Now I just want to ask one question: what did I do wrong to you? Why did you want to kill my son? I don't understand. My younger brother and I were very close since childhood. We studied together, played together, set goals together, and encouraged each other to improve. During all those days preparing for the college entrance exam, we were rivals, and also each other's pride. We were once as close as flesh and blood, because we truly are flesh and blood. So why did he do this to me? Facing my question, my younger brother, Evan, just smirked, his eyes filled with contempt. "If you want to blame someone, blame him for being your son. That's the retribution he has to bear for you." I understood even less. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer directly, but asked back, "Do you know why I failed the college entrance exam that year?" I frowned. "Honestly, no." He laughed coldly, "Still playing dumb? Do you remember? The day before the exam, you brought me a bowl of mung bean soup. Then on the exam day, I had a stomachache all day. You put something in it because you were afraid I'd steal your top scorer position, right? Do you know how much effort I put into that exam? I valued it more than my own life. I could have gotten into the best university, lived a dream life. It was you who ruined everything. I hate you, I hate this dark life. So I chose to commit suicide. But unfortunately, I didn't die. Perhaps God didn't want me to die. Because the one who deserved to die wasn't me, it was you, Ethan. You stole my future. Isn't it natural for me to take revenge on you?" My younger brother looked at me smugly, as if he had just vented 1,000 pounds of hatred. I still remembered that incident. But I had never put anything in the soup. Before I could speak, my mother burst into tears. "Evan, that had nothing to do with your brother. I was the one who put the medicine in." My younger brother was stunned, then laughed coldly. "Mom, if you love him, you can just say so. Why take the blame like this? Doing this will only make me hate him more." My mother shook her head, crying in pain. "No, I'm telling the truth. You've been weak since you were little. The doctor said you can't stand the cold. But you wanted to get into a top university, a school far up north. Adjusted from Tsinghua to be more general for a US context. If you went there, your illness would get worse, even become life-threatening. I couldn't bear to watch you walk towards your own death. So I came up with that idea, just hoping you would give up, choose a safer path. I just want you to live well, healthy, and safe." My father also nodded in confirmation. "Your mother is telling the truth. When she found out you committed suicide because you couldn't pass the exam, she was filled with regret. Many times she went to the river, intending to jump in to atone for her sin." Hearing this, my younger brother finally believed none of it had anything to do with me. He looked at my mother, trembling as he shouted, "Why did you decide for me? Why did you ruin me?" My mother shed tears. "Evan, I didn't mean to. I just wanted you to live." Seeing the scene, the surrounding crowd murmured, "Oh my God, just wanting what's best for your child created such a tragedy. If there was something, they should have said it earlier. It didn't need to lead to death. The mother is pitiful, but the younger brother is too stubborn, and the little child, what did he do to deserve this?" Hearing those words, my younger brother, Evan, burst out laughing, tears streaming down his face as he laughed. Finally, he stopped looking at our mother and turned to me. I looked towards Sarah, consciousness flooded back. I remembered. I had been reborn from the beginning. Thump, he knelt down before me, his face full of remorse. "Brother, I'm sorry, I always thought you harmed me, wanted to compete with me for the top score, so I directed all my resentment towards you. I'm sorry, it was me who killed your son." As he spoke, he slapped himself hard across the face. I looked at him, my eyes cold. "You are my younger brother. Even if you hated me, hit me, cursed me, even took my life, I could bear it all. But you shouldn't have, absolutely shouldn't have, laid a hand on my son. He was only 5 years old. He was completely innocent. The dead cannot be brought back to life. Your apology, I will never forgive it in this lifetime." In the end, my younger brother, Evan, was arrested. For intentional homicide, he was sentenced to death. My mother, due to excessive shock, fell gravely ill and went into a vegetative state. The homeroom teacher, Ms. Peterson, was also suspended pending investigation. As for me, having lost my son, been betrayed by a relative, my mother falling ill, I was exhausted both mentally and physically. During those dark days, Sarah and Sarah's mom were always by my side, taking care of me, never leaving me for a moment. Thanks to their warmth, my body and soul gradually recovered. 3 years later, Sarah became pregnant again. On the day she gave birth, it unexpectedly snowed. I held the newborn baby in my arms, looked at the snowflakes filling the sky, and turned to smile at Sarah. Because Leo once said, he liked snow the most. Our good son. He had returned. You are listening to a story on the Romantic Twist Reviews channel. Please like and subscribe to the channel to hear more great stories every day.